Hi, I'm Josh Mulligan with Tricky Fast Studios, and today I'm going to show you how to set up a simple third-person shooter character with Cat. So the first thing that we'll be doing is grabbing this player starting prefab and just dragging it into the scene. Down here, look at him. What the player should have is a few states on him, state machine already, character controller, and the camera all set up. And in the playing, you should have all of the basic movement. If you want to learn more about third-person movement and the animations for those, there is already a tutorial on the channel for that. So we're mainly going to be focusing on the third-person shooter aspects. And we will start off with giving the player some health. So we are actually going to go down to the value holder, and we're going to add an integer. We can call this player health. You can set the value to 100 or whatever you want the default value for the player health to be. The next thing we're going to do is right above all of the states, we are going to add an integer value trigger. We can move this up to the top wherever you want, and we're going to name this death action. And this will be checking to see if the owner, which is the player, and the reference name player health, which is the value, is less than or equal to 0, then we will change states. And you want this to be on the same level as the trigger itself. We will still have owner. And you can even click this little arrow to see what states you have on the owner. And we will set that to dead. So when the trigger is fired, being the player health is less than or equal to 0, then we'll switch over to the dead state. And we're actually going to add another change state action and put this right before this one for the camera. Since there's only one camera, we can just do named and not worry about there being conflicting cameras. And we'll just set the camera to dead as well, so you can't move the camera or the character when the health is less than or equal to 0. We'll go into the dead state really quick and make it look more like the player has died. And we are going to do that by adding a set trigger animation parameter. And the target will be owner, but we will set a path to the TPS character, which is the model that has the animator on it. We will set the parameter name to death, which is the animation that will play when you die. We'll come back to the dead state and add more stuff later, but for right now, that is good. We are going to focus on the playing state, which is actually being able to shoot the enemies. So the first thing that we are going to add is a mouse button trigger. And this will be checking to see when you click the fire button. We can name this shooting action. You can just reset the transform. And we can leave the button as 0, since 0 will be left click. And what we can actually do before we get into the logic is duplicate this and name it mouse aim. And set this button to 1. Now what mouse aim is going to do is when you click right click, it'll play an animation for the player aiming in with the gun, instead of only being able to walk around without aiming it. What we're going to do is add 2 set bool animation parameters. The first one, set the path to whatever has the animator on it. We'll set the parameter name to aiming. This value will be true. We'll also revert on stop. We can actually just duplicate this and have the aiming be false, but we're also going to click this little thing which makes it an else. When the button is held down, the aiming will be true, and it will play the aiming animation, and then when you let go of it, it'll play the else statement, and it'll set that value to false, so the player will lower the weapon again. Now we can go back to the shooting logic itself, and the first thing that we're going to do is add in an action list. Under this action list, we'll add a set trigger animation, set a path to the model, and the parameter name will be shoot. Every time you click this button, it will just play the shooting animation. Under the animation action, we can add a play sound action, and you can go under audio, and we're just going to pick gun shoot 2. You can have this be whatever sound you want, but this is what we will use for the tutorial. Below this play sound action, we are going to add in a spawn action. This spawn action is for a particle effect for when you're shooting. This can be a muzzle flash or whatever you see fit. So the target we will set to owner, and a path, muzzle flash particle. And for the muzzle flash particle, this will just be the spot that it is spawned on. So you can just have it be a point floating in space, or you can have it on the gun itself. In this prefab, you can go under the particles and put in the muzzle flash. For the parent, this is going to be where it is held in. Just going to name that environment and set the path to be spawn holder. And this will just hold all of the particles that are spawned in from you shooting. You want to have set transform as yes, and then you're good to go. Now, for the actual shooting, what you're going to want to do is go under conditions, and then add a raycast condition. You can leave it as conditional action, or name it to whatever you want. We'll just keep it the same name. For the source, we're going to access an empty game object that we already have on the camera, which is named shoot origin. So we can do named, since this is the only cat camera in the scene. And we can go path, shoot origin. It pops up there, recognizes it. For right now, we'll go right to destination, set this cat camera again, and this time have the path set to shoot destination. And for the collide target, what we are going to do is choose tagged. And you click again, shows your entire tag list. We are going to choose enemy. So every time this raycast is sent out, if it collides with a tagged enemy object, then it will execute what we will put below. Under this conditional, we can create an action list and make sure this action list is on the same level as the raycast. And we can name this action list enemy hit. And what we're going to put under here is a modify integer value. The source value will be targeted, and the reference name is going to be enemy health. And we are going to subtract about 30 health from the enemy whenever you shoot it. If you want, you can add in a little debug log, but we're not going to do that. We will duplicate this action list, however, set it to else, and then do other hit action list. And then we can get rid of the modify integer value, since it's not hitting an enemy. And then we can do a log action, and then just type in enemy not hit or something. So at this point, you should have a player that's able to walk around, able to aim in, shoot enemies, deal damage, and you are also able to take damage and go into your death state. The next thing that we will be covering is swapping between two different weapons, since we have two weapons on this character. If you just want one weapon, you can skip to the timestamp that is on the screen right now, where we will be going over ammo. But right now we're going to add functionality for swapping between two weapons. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is add a keyboard trigger. And we can name this swap to AR rifle, whatever you want to name it. And this will be alpha 1. And this is just 1 on your keyboard. So when you hit 1, you'll swap to this gun. When you hit 2, you're going to be swapping to the shotgun. Now to keep track of which gun that we have out, we're going to go to the value holder and add an integer. And we can just name this something like current gun equipped. We can set the value to 1, since we have the AR out, and we'll designate 2 to be the shotgun. The first thing that we're going to check when you hit the 1 key is that you have the other gun out. And we are going to do this by adding an integer value condition. You can leave it on owner, and the reference name will be current gun equipped. And since this is switching to the first gun, the comparison value will be 2. And below this, we're going to add in an action list. First thing that we will add is a set trigger animation param. You'll want to put that under the action list. And we'll set the parameter name to be swap weapon. Leave it on owner, go to path, and set this to our model. Below this, we'll want to set an integer value to keep track of which gun is out. The target will be owner, reference name, current gun equipped. The new value will be 1, since we have the first gun out. And right now, we're going to add 4 of these SetEnabled actions. 2 of these are for the gun models themselves, and 2 of them will be for the canvas when we get to there. We will just add in the canvas functionality right now, and then you can just drag in the canvas prefab whenever you want to. But we'll go over that in the next tutorial with the game controller. Under these SetEnabled actions, we are also going to add 2 setUIText actions. We can drag these below here. These 2 SetEnabled actions will be for the gun models themselves, so I'm going to quickly put those in. So now we have the first gun being enabled and the second gun being disabled. So now you should have the AR being enabled, shotgun being disabled, and for the canvas, the AR1 and the shotgun respectively doing the same things. Now for the set UI text action, this will be for the ammo system, so it'll just switch to be whichever gun you have equipped. So for the AR, we'll just set the AR ammo to be the canvas one. Now when you have all of these filled out, we are going to duplicate this whole swap to AR and change it to swap to shotgun. And we're going to change all the values for the shotgun. So that way both of these set up. We can go ahead and test it out. Since we have the AR out, if we hit 2, pull out the shotgun. If you hit 2 again, doesn't work. If we hit 1, swaps back to the AR. Okay. Now, before we go to the ammo system, since we have a new gun, we are going to make sure the correct gun is shooting. So what we can do is change this action list to just have it named as AR. We can duplicate this. Change it to shotgun. And before both of these, we can add in a conditional that checks to see the integer value of which gun we have out. Put these here, reference name, current gun equipped, and if it's equal to 1, then it will run this. So this is checking to see which gun is currently equipped, and if it is 1, which is the AR, it will run that, and if it is not, we'll check the else on the shotgun, and then that will run when this value is not equal to 1. So we can just quickly input all of the shotgun logic into here. Now that we have the player being able to swap between 2 different guns and being able to shoot 2 different guns, we are going to add in a ammo system for the player. We're going to start off by going into the value holder, and we're going to create 5 integer values. Now that we have those 5 integers out and named correctly, we're going to go into playing, and we'll just add this right below shooting. We'll add a keyboard trigger. We can name this reload action and set the key to R or whatever key you want the reload key to be. Now, since we have 2 weapons on this player, we're going to add in a conditional to check to see which gun you have out. If you only have 1 gun, you don't need to worry about this. You can just follow along with the AR ammo. So we're going to add an integer value condition. This will be checking current gun equipped. We can also go through these values and set them to some default values. You don't need to set ammo subtract count. We will go over that in a second. Right now, if current gun equipped is 1, being the AR, we will execute the AR logic. We can just duplicate this conditional action and put it underneath here and name this one to be AR. And we can set this value to player AR current ammo. We're going to set this to less than 30. So if the AR ammo is less than 30, meaning it's not full, then we are able to reload. And we can go ahead and add in a few things. First one being a set trigger animation. Reload, we're going to set the path to be the character. We're going to add a modify integer value action. The source value will be 30. Operation will be subtract. The modification amount, we're going to set that to owner, player AR, current ammo. And the target value will be owner ammo, subtract count. Right below this, we're going to add a set integer value, and we are going to set the player's ammo to 30. Right below this, We will add a set UI text action. Target will be in the body. We're going to set to owner and have this be player AR current ammo. Right below this, we'll add a modify integer value action. What we're going to do is so we're taking the player ammo reserve, and we're subtracting the ammo subtract count, and then we're reapplying it to the AR ammo reserve. And then right after this, we are going to set the UI text again for this. And now with all of this, you should be all set with the reloading for the AR. And what you can do is just take this whole AR thing, duplicate it, change it to shotgun, and change all the values, which I will do quickly. Now that you have all the values in shotgun, you want to set that as an else statement, and then you should be all good for the reload action. Now that we have all of the reloading logic done, we're going to go back into the shooting logic and make sure that we have a conditional to check to see how much ammo we have. So this one will be checking to see if player AR current ammo is greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, then you're able to shoot and it'll run all of the AR logic. And we will do the same thing for shotgun, but move this down here and rename this. Shotgun ammo, change this value. And now you should be all good and have a working ammo system. Once you duplicate the shotgun one, you're going to want to make sure that you uncheck this else statement and rather put it on the conditional now. So now every time you fire, it's going to check to see which gun you have out, and then it's going to check to see if you have enough ammo to actually shoot. One more thing we can add to each of these is under the conditional to make sure that you shoot, you can just add in a quick modify integer to subtract ammo every time you shoot. Source value, you can have this be on owner, and then you can just subtract by 1 every single time you shoot. We're going to add this to shotgun as well, except this will be shotgun current ammo. All right. Now you should have a fully functional ammo system for both the AR and the shotgun.